Are we team this or are we team this?
I'll talk.
Yeah,
Did you see my outfit?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna.
I had to double check just in case.
Okay, I'm Wakandan all day.
Welcome back. We got a full cast today. Ebby's here, Chris is here, Ironheart here is add to our collection. We're talking about Wakanda Forever, directed by Ryan Coogler. He also co-wrote it. It has a whole lot of people. I'm just gonna look at my card. Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Guerrera, Winston Duke, Michaela Cole, Tana Huerta, Angela Bassett, Martin Freeman, and Dominique Thorne. There's more people, but that's the main people. Dealing with the loss of a loved one, Chadwick Boseman, and then also Tana Huerta plays Namor, one of MCU's biggest characters, like anti-heroes, and he wants revenge on the world, basically. And that's the plot. But also so does Shuri. She wants revenge on the world for losing Chadwick. I mean, T'Challa. I mean, it's kind of like...
It's gonna be right, yeah.
Thought it was an incredible movie. Beautifully shot. I think it does the prequel justice. Like Michael was saying, essentially plays into the whole idea of dealing with grief and how, I guess, everybody's journey towards grief is different. Some people look at it as a celebration of life. Some people take longer to heal from it than others, and how that can almost play its own portion into your own life if you're not ready to deal with those demons. So I think it was an excellent movie in my book.
I love this movie. I love the first one. It was like my number one, which is weird because 2018 was the year we started this. So, and that was one of my favorites of the year. And it was, I had reservations going in because I'm like, how do you fill such a Chadwick Boseman size hole? It's a complicated movie, but they pull it off really well. There are things that, like tiny little things that I wish they hadn't put in, and we can get to that later. But I think there were some things that took away from the broader story, the bigger story. Yeah. But other than that, like, I mean, it looks great. Coogler is, one of the best around right now. And it's just, it's hard to talk about without getting too much into it.
There was a lot of social media backlash for Letitia. You know, the whole people on the fence about whether or not, like, we should let King T'Challa go to rest and, like, not let there be another Black Panther. I want to just completely say off top for the record, Letitia, sis, we bow down. That movie delivered everything that I could have possibly wanted and more. From the opening scene all the way to black, like the black screen on the back. Like, I was surprised. I was emotional. I cried the whole time. For the culture, I don't think anyone will be disappointed. The character development in this movie was more than I bargained for, because like you, I did not know how they were going to fill the gaping hole left by Chadwick Boseman. But Angela Bassett.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Angela Bassetted, okay?
Yes.
In this film and carried.
I mean, we all knew Angela Bassett is the queen.
Period.
She should have won multiple Oscars already in her life, and maybe an Emmy or two, I don't know. But what she does as Queen Ramonda in this movie is just like otherworldly. You feel the loss in the movie and in real life through her. Obviously, you feel it through Letitia Wright at the end of the movie. Yeah. Not to spoil it too much, but you also feel like the next step with Lupita Nyong'o. She really gives you that, like, okay, it's okay to breathe after this. Like, we lost someone we loved, but it's okay. We have something that we still have to live. We have to figure out how to live our lives. But I want to just shout out Tana Huerta. I mean, me and JD know Namor, but for people that don't know Namor, I think this is a really good intro to his character.
Well, I mean, that smile alone.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he really is the vacuum of charm, and like he fills it. You're like, this guy, I hate this dude, but he's very likable. He's so likable.
Like, there was a point in the movie where I asked Chris, I'm like, are you getting like romance tension?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like it was so, because like there's a moment where he just smiled, like when we first meet him.
Yes.
But when he meets the queen and And
Shuri.
I keep saying, I keep wanting to go to Letitia. I keep wanting to say their real name.
Yes,
Shuri.
but Princess Shuri.
And then he does this smile, and you're like, oh gosh,
it's charming.
It's like Jaws if he had like charisma.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when he first shows up in the darkness and like just like, I love the air here.
Right.
Also, I'll kill you if I want to.
Exactly. Which was bold.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You rolled up in Wakanda.
Yeah.
Swam. It's more of a Marvel criticism. It's like, I love Everett Ross. I think it's a great character.
Mm-hmm.
That whole 15 minutes of him and someone that we will talk about in a second, I guess, because I don't want to go into spoilers. That could have been condensed into like a 3-minute post-credit scene where you hit all the like, hey, you set up everything. You know, you could have had him still give them the Riri Williams kind of push.
Yeah.
But like, and then revisit him later and see those repercussions. But I feel like every time we went away to them, I'm like, we could be doing something else. And I thought that maybe we could have been doing more with Riri and Shuri, like talks about grief.
But it was just like they needed to figure out how to make him relevant.
Yeah,
in some way.
And I think it's like you put him in and just like, hey, remember I'm in the first one.
Our favorite colonizer.
Yes, and that's the thing is like, but also we lose like what may be one of the best lines in the movie.
Yeah.
The movie does not feel like 3 hours, but I kind of felt the same way, like almost with the Batman. I know it's 2 different universes and stuff, but it still does feel kind of like a long movie. And like JD was saying, there's a few scenes that I won't necessarily get into that I would condense.
This was a hard project for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they had to try to make a lot of people happy. Like you're trying to appease the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You're trying to appease Black culture. Yeah. You're trying to appease, I don't know, who am I leaving out? A lot of people.
Yeah.
Or people that were just fans of Chadwick Boseman, period. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like there were, for example, the silent parts of the movie where we saw nothing but Chadwick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those were long pieces.
Yeah.
It was more thoughtful than anything else. And I feel like, yes, it's a 3-hour movie, but you get a pass because
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they aren't comic accurate in a lot of the costumes. And with the Midnight Angel costume, it is so comic accurate that it is kind of corny. It's a little goofy.
I think
I will agree. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. And I'm not shading this film. That was when I think even Danae's character makes fun of it every time she sees it.
Obviously, Julia Louis-Dreyfus character comes up to set up Thunderbolts. None of us probably really liked it. It took away the beats. It made the beats.
And I love what they did. I love that she's married. That she's to be married to Everett Ross. I love that. Like we know that Everett Ross is going to be in Thunderbolts for sure now.
Yeah.
I love that we're setting up like, oh, now the U.S. is very much like we're going to go dismantle this country, which they don't really even talk about at the end. Yeah. But I just think you could have squeezed in, hey, we used to be married. Hey, we're setting up Thunderbolts, and hey, the U.S. is going for Wakanda soon, and just set that up in the like a 3-minute post-credit scene.
Another spoiler is that they basically recast T'Challa, but as his son. So I think that was...
Wait a minute. That was a throw my shoe moment, like watching the credits start to roll. And we're all just sitting there and waiting. And then we come back on screen and I see the shadow of a child. And I'm like, I know not. I know. And I just, literally just audible. It was loud, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not a spoiler, but Lupita Nyong'o, she is a beautiful woman.
She is.
Incredible.
That's all I gotta say.
And Angela Bassett. I mean,
everyone's beautiful in this movie. So.
Can we talk about the fashion real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, like, if we go back in time to, like, Angela Bassett and What's Love Got to Do with it? And, like, she's famous for her physique. Mm-hmm. Those costumes were designed to show off, like, the arms, right? Mm-hmm. The elongated neck. Like, just her very statuesque figure. The robes were all very royal. Everything that Shuri wore, excellent, relevant to her age.
Well, I mean, when you think about when you say costumes, the first costume I think about is Michael B. Jordan and what made it the best.
Oh my God.
The best costume he's
Yes.
ever worn.
Listen.
It makes me think, in my head, I'm like, I could never pull that off, but I would love to try.
So you brought him up. I'm so glad you did. There was an audible gasp in the theater when everybody saw him come on screen. And ladies, he looks good.
I think that interaction between Shuri and Killmonger really summed up what the story was. I tweeted about it, but this was more like Homer's Odyssey than it was like a superhero action movie, in that it takes the time to build up the ideas of like grief and revenge are two intertwined feelings, because sometimes when a person you lose, you love, you don't know what to do. And all you can feel is just rage and just like revenge on something, anything. And so to see Killmonger and Shuri pick him, like unconsciously pick him, and then she picks up the gold costume, and you're like, sure, you're going down a path you can't win.
I thought we were going somewhere. I was like, oh, this is...
I was scared for a minute.
And when she kind of gets like the same wound, too. And you're like,
it's a good parallel,
like, this is it.
How many Wakanda Forevers out of 10 would you give it?
Saw a lot of jumpsuits from Shuri. Big fan of those. Initially, whenever I saw Namor's army, there's the main big dude that popped up initially that overpowered everybody with the spear. I don't know how many people here play Mortal Kombat, but thought he was Kotal Khan for a second, and so it made me do my research. Found out the Aztec parallels between the two. Also a really big fan of all the like traditional African burial and ceremonial things with the coffins and stuff. Could go into a really long rant about this, but not going to. So gonna give it 9.5 Wakandas Forever.
It had so much to do, and it nailed like almost 100% of it. Again, we've talked about the things that I wish that they would have changed, but I think, everything hits. Like, we didn't even talk about like Ludwig's score. We didn't talk about Rihanna's song. There's just too much to talk about. We didn't talk about Riri Williams barely in this review.
Yes.
A shame, but she's getting her own show, so we can talk about it in a few months.
Yeah, exactly.
But just the acting, the silence, the camera work, it's so close. It's almost, there's mostly medium shots in this. It's just honest, and it's just like, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I just can't, like, I can't even like really put into words almost. So I would give this, I'm pretty close to Chris, like a 9 out of 10 Wakandas for
The introduction of an entirely new civilization that we didn't know anything about, under the sea, no less, the Aztecs, but also the nuances that came with that, them singing their foes to their death, literally forcing them to march into the sea, very much gave me Igbo Landing, if you're familiar. There are slaves that, instead of going into a life of servitude, literally walked into the ocean to their death. And that was poetic.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to get into it because there was so much going on, but I was like, oh my God, I know what that is. And then I was like, okay, what's happening in the movie right now? So historical content, imagery, the music, the dance scenes, the reverence to Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. Allowing Angela Bassett to Angela Bassett. I don't know what this film would have been like without her. Not to diminish Letitia Wright at all, but the two of them together, I think their shared grief is what makes this movie what it is. And then last but not least, did y'all see Michael B. Jordan? Or
I mean, the 6-pack gets it to the 6 alone, and then you just get it back up.
Yeah, but introduction of new characters, everything. 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10 as well. My comic book ratings are different from my other movie ratings because they're just so different. It's like vibes alone, this is 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Obviously, the CIA stuff is like weird and sets it apart. So 9 out of 10. I love how we saw Talokan. We saw the parallels of how like colonizers changed the way these nations worked with their own resources. And that's a big commentary on America. It's a big commentary on China and Africa right now. So it's like, and it's not like, it's subtle, but it's like also there and bubbling up to the top. So I really love just everything, the historical context, everything about it is just a great movie. And I grew up reading Greek epics, so the fact that this felt like that just made the inner child in me like giddy.
Something for everybody.
Exactly.
Honestly, I think they delivered on trying to give every segment of humanity something to be like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Do y'all still have questions like about the film?
I know that in the Marvel universe they'll be answered, so I don't really have questions.
Well, maybe that's me because I'm just maybe I need to come more to the Marvel universe. So I think
they set up a lot of things they'll answer later.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well that's cool. I could live with that.
Un esercito di prodi